So, some bad news today in relation to what's going on in the Transformer video game world. We've covered this over the past 2 years or so about a Transformers FPS video game that was being developed by LeYou and Certain Affinity, the people behind Halo and Call of Duty, to make a triple A Transformers game. Unfortunately, today it sounds like it might not be happening anymore. Let's get into that. I'll give you a quick brief history lesson and then what's going on right now, unfortunately, with all of this news. So about 2 years ago, Certain Affinity, along with LeYou, were at the China Joy Convention in 2019, which was a tech and entertainment expo, this huge convention where all the different companies talk about and they do panels and they show off what is going to be their future with their brands and everything. And they had a panel where they said, hey, we have the Transformers license. We're going to be doing a AAA game. It's going to be a free-to-play FPS. It's going to be available in both China and North America, so USA and Canada. 3D shooter. It's going to have the G1 evergreen kind of aesthetic, but more based in that 2010, 2012 thrilling 30 generations bubble. And, hey, it's the guys behind Halo and Call of Duty. Get excited. And for people who aren't familiar with LeYou is essentially the company that owns 20% of Certain Affinity, and LeYou is owned by Tencent, which is this big conglomerate monster of a company in China that has all kinds of crazy backstory and history that I don't want to get too much into here. You could just Google it and figure it out yourself without me having to go too deep. But they pretty much were going to capitalize on the huge hype that Fortnite and Overwatch created around that time, especially in 2019. And they felt like there was just something there that they could do. They really did. And the original prototype name was going to be Transformers Impact, and then it became Transformers Online. And it was going to be available for PC, Windows, and then later on, hopefully, work with something for console ports afterwards. Everything went quiet after that 2019 announcement. And there was little pieces here and there, some images, nothing much. And then fast forward to about a month ago, and Aaron Hamilton, who was one of the representatives for the company and stuff, did a podcast saying, don't worry, it's still happening, everything's still trucking along nicely, and now it's not called Transformers Online, it's called Transformers Rise, to, I guess, create some kind of synergy between the Transformers Rise of the Beast title and this. I don't know, I think that's kind of confusing personally, but sure, whatever. But it's still going to have the G1 aesthetic and everything that they said before, and again, working with those guys. Today, we got some bad news. So, the CEO of LeYou and a whole bunch of other people in the company walked out today. Complete walkout, leaving the company, just absolute mess. And there was a report that was done by journalists there that got down to the nitty-gritty of what's going on and did interviews. And this comes directly translated from the South China Morning Post. And it's an interview with Alexa Yu, the CEO of LeYou, and what's happening. And here's what is said. This is all quotes. I'm reading it off. You guys could take what you want from it. I'll try to make sense of it too. Just months after Tencent acquired LeYou Technologies in a $1.5 billion cash deal, LeYou has become a shell of its former self. This is, again, Alexa's interview. Marking a rare move by Tencent, which normally prided itself on hands-off approach with their subsidiaries and investments. LeYou was formerly a poultry meat supplier for McDonald's, but later touted itself up to the point of becoming with China to hope to develop console and PC games. They canceled a number of tentpole titles, including Lord of the Rings game, which they were working on with Amazon, and a Civilization game that was working with 2K Games, despite the penalties of fees in the numbers of tens of millions for doing so. The company previously owned by tycoon Charles Yuk Kong Chin Apologize on the pronunciation there. Also saw many of its top senior leaders leaving, including the company's chief executive and creative directors, according to many people that I talked to. Alexa goes on to continue. The final years of LeYou hunting for a buyout deal to ensure chaos has left the bad taste in their mouths by many who joined the company to create games based on famous intellectual property such as Lord of the Rings and Transformers. It has dashed the hopes of many who joined the company to create games, one person said. It went on to have one of the best gaming developed businesses, but is now nothing but a satellite studio for Tencent. It was a place that PC games and console games dreamed of could be worked on. Again, those great AAA titles based on licensed games. However, the deal on Tencent was far from what they wanted. An option to invest into their own Certain Affinity, a Texas-based developer that is key in the development of, like I mentioned before, Call of Duty, Halo, and other AAA titles. LeYou has 20% stake in that company. An industry darling known for its last-minute crunch time and ability to put out games, Certain Affinity was also key to the reason why Sony joined the bidding war with Tencent, as a company entailed significant strategies, importance in the game industry. Following the deal with Tencent, LeYou's chief executive, Alex Liu, left the company in May, and so did multiple other head managers and employees. Its creative director, Michelle Kissling, left last year in a similar fashion. A huge number of people who are at LeYou has left. The company used to have a team based in Beijing and Shanghai. A person stated, anonymously, I had a team about 200 people working on the Civilization game, and at one point across multiple cities in China. Now that Civilization online game is no more, and the team is no longer working on it. In 2019, LeYou announced that they would be helping Amazon develop a Lord of the Rings game. And that same year, they said they'd be developing the Transformers online game. Multiple people said that the overhaul of the company has now led multiple cancellations of projects and incurring heavy penalties to LeYou over branch deals with partners, and these penalties number in the multi-millions. Ex-LeYou employees said that the company's ambitions to assert itself in the gaming business is thwarted by mismanagement and infighting. People do not care about games, would be in charge, was stated by one. It is more interested in dressing itself up for one day for resale by buying famous IPs, which they never intended to go through with. And that is that. So it seems that maybe all of this was a giant smokescreen, and that they were going to get the Transformers license, build up this hype, show these couple of screenshots, everything, just to sell the company so that they could get leverage on money to then buy Certain Affinity or other companies. Sounds like a lot of dudes with a lot of money doing a lot of shady stuff. But all we could really take away from this more than anything else is that Transformers Rise is now not happening. And it almost makes me now go, maybe that's why they called it Transformers Rise, was because they had no intention of making a game, but if they somehow linked the name of the game with the coming up, big Hollywood movie, it would get more attention for then a potential sale of the company. So that's pretty bad news from what it sounds like. But again, I give credit to LeYou here, or Sue. I'm sorry about the pronunciation. I'm not Chinese. I'm messing these up. But LeYou or you, I give credit to that guy for sticking up for what he believes in, and all the people in the company that walked out that wanted to make games, not to mention wanted to make great games. Part of what made War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron and the High Moon games so great were because everyone that worked on it were people that were fans and had passion for it, and that's why those games turned out so well. Where so many other Transformer games that are so forgettable were just licensed games that had to get in and out and hit certain dates, and they just were not made by fans. So I give credit to them, mad props, and I wish them all the best in the future in the game industry, and hopefully this will all work out somehow for them, and they'll find employment in other places where their passion could be put to good use. But long story short, my friends, it sounds like the game's not coming. So we'll see what happens in the future when it comes to other video game stuff, but as it stands right now, this Certain Affinity game is dead in the water. Canceled, if you will. So that's that. Sad news, bad feelings. Actually, just want to mention this too. Anyone who's listening this late in the podcast, I did a surprise live stream today. I know a lot of people were kind of surprised by it. I just felt like trying out something video game related with the live stream with Transformer stuff. I'm not going to post the full stream, but I'm going to do kind of a small little highlight reel of some things that I showed, and I'll post that. And if you like what you see, let me know if you want to see more of that kind of content. I was just kind of again, I did it for fun. I didn't expect as many people to show up as they did and partake in it. So let me know what you think with that. But again, bad news on one side from the video game world, but we'll see what happens. And tomorrow's Fan First Friday. So we got some big news in the Transformer world in relation to HasLab and Kingdom, so we'll find that out tomorrow. It'll be a big day for the podcast too. And then Saturday we'll have our traditional Saturday night live stream and talk about all of that. And hopefully we'll get some more information on this video game stuff too. But sad news otherwise.